What up, YouTube? Here with a review video of this past Saturday's SummerSlam 2024. This was a heck of a event that we saw. I say the best pay-per-view event that WWE or pro wrestling overall has put on since WrestleMania 40. That's how solid this event was yesterday. And this is how I structure my review videos. I give every match that happened on the card a match rating out of a 5. And after I go over every match that happened on the card, I will give the overall pay-per-view event a rating out of a 10. And without any further ado, let's get to the reviewing part. The opening contest to this year's SummerSlam was for the Women's World title, Liv Morgan defending her Women's World title versus a returning Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley had to vacate. She actually never lost the Women's World title after she defeated Becky Lynch at this year's WrestleMania. She had to forfeit the Women's World title after a year run as the Women's World Champion, winning at WrestleMania 39. And after WrestleMania 40, if she didn't injure her arm, she would have still most likely have been Women's World Champion. But unfortunately, things happen when it comes to the professional wrestling business, and injuries are a part of the physical aspect when it comes to the pro wrestling industry. It is a very hard-hitting contact sport, and I could confidently say it's a sport because it takes a lot of athleticism to be able to compete in the ring. And Rhea Ripley has been considered one of, if not the best female talent that the whole pro wrestling industry has to offer as of today's date. And Liv Morgan, she's been up there as one of the best female talent in all of pro wrestling as well. She just haven't had the slot time on air to shine as much, to get to display her talent as frequently as a Rhea Ripley has been able to do. And Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley both came onto the scene together. If y'all remember WrestleMania 38, I believe they competed for the women's tag team titles, and one point in time, I believe they were women's tag team champions as well when they were fresh out of NXT. So this is somewhat a historical rivalry. As you know, Liv Morgan was put on the injury shelf after Rhea Ripley took her out last year at the fall of last year when Liv Morgan was teaming with Raquel Rodriguez, and they were both, I believe at that time, women's tag team champions, and was both gunning for Rhea Ripley's Women's World title when Rhea Ripley took out both Rodriguez and Morgan. And that's why when Morgan came back to action, she called it her revenge tour, because she was solely targeting after Rhea Ripley for Rhea Ripley taking her out and putting her on the injured list. And things turned around when Liv Morgan was able to compete, because Rhea Ripley this time was injured after her match versus Becky Lynch. And Liv Morgan, she didn't get to get her vengeance on Rhea Ripley because Rhea Ripley wasn't able to compete. So she had won the title from Becky Lynch at the King and Queen of the Ring earlier this year. And that's when Dominic Mysterio got involved with Liv Morgan, because Dominic Mysterio was trying to make sure that Liv Morgan doesn't get her hands on the title that Rhea Ripley never lost. And Dominic Mysterio, in attempting to help Rhea Ripley and make sure that Liv Morgan doesn't get the Women's World title, ended up backfiring on Dominic Mysterio, because he ended up costing Becky Lynch via distractions or Liv Morgan being faster than Dominic Mysterio when Dominic Mysterio would attempt to help aid Liv Morgan's opponent. And that was during the time, I don't know what the contract situation is looking like with Becky Lynch. I don't know if she re-signed with the WWE, but it's most likely that whenever Becky Lynch decides to come back into action, she's going to have a brand new contract with the WWE. I could confidently say it's a safe bet that Becky Lynch won't go to any other brand. If we do see Becky Lynch competing in another company, it'll most likely be TNA, because as we know, TNA has been working closely with NXT. As we know, we've seen Jordan Grace, Joe Henry, and names like that cross over from TNA to NXT. And now that Triple H has been in charge as far as the creative side of things, we've seen WWE wrestlers go over to Japan to compete in non-WWE companies such as AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. They got to go over there to Japan to wrestle a match that they wanted to wrestle, and wrestlers are getting more of a leniency from Triple H and the board when it comes to them branching off outside of the WWE. Now, of course, the WWE doesn't work with AEW. It's not like they're in competition. I say AEW is the alternative brand rather than a competition to the WWE. And that was AEW's goal from the get-go when they became a professional wrestling company. And as I said, with Becky Lynch and how her personal life is set up, and she's been a stable name in the WWE for a while now, so it's going to be highly unlikely that Becky Lynch will go to AEW or any other wrestling company whenever she decides to return. But anyways, though, I just thought that I'll give y'all a little backstory on this rivalry between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, and I was expecting something like this to happen. Now, this was a good opening contest. This is a match to set the tone for the rest of the show, to get the crowd enthusiastically involved for the remainder of the show. And these two have natural chemistry because, as I said, they came up together, and I'm quite sure outside of the ring they're close friends as well, and they've worked with each other on numerous occasions in the past, hence why they're able to put on well put together matches like we saw for this year's opening contest at SummerSlam. And we saw good back and forth action out of these two ladies, and the end of the match is very similar as to how Liv Morgan was able to capture the Women's World title at King and Queen of the Ring versus Becky Lynch, when Rhea Ripley was attempting to go melee on Liv Morgan with a steel chair, much like how Becky Lynch, when the steel chair was presented to her, she was hesitant in using that against Liv Morgan, unlike Rhea Ripley, who has a personal vendetta against Liv Morgan and vice versa. But Dominic Mysterio, unlike when Liv Morgan faced Becky Lynch, he didn't help Rhea Ripley in aiding her to use that steel chair versus Liv Morgan, like he tried to encourage Becky Lynch to use against Liv Morgan with that same weapon that was available for Rhea Ripley to use against Liv Morgan. But this time, Dominic Mysterio would hold back Rhea Ripley from using the steel chair and saying to Rhea Ripley that she's not going to be able to win the Women's World title if she gets disqualified because the referee's back was turned. But if he would have turned around and caught Rhea Ripley going mayhem on Liv Morgan with that steel chair, Rhea Ripley would have lost a possible opportunity at regaining her Women's World title, which she never lost. And Liv Morgan, she used that opportunity to her advantage because Rhea Ripley was distracted and talking to Dominic Mysterio, and then the referee, he had his back turned, and that gave enough time for Liv Morgan to faceplant Rhea Ripley onto the steel chair that was dropped by Rhea Ripley after she was told by Dominic Mysterio not to use that steel chair, and that's what secured Liv Morgan to get the victory over on Rhea Ripley to successfully defend her WWE Women's World title. And I'll give this match rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. It was a solid opening contest that we saw with good storytelling that came to the climax of things, because leading up to this match, Dominic Mysterio had to choose a side, Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan, and prior to this match, it looked as if Dominic Mysterio booted Liv Morgan out of the picture and chose to ride with Rhea Ripley. But then we found out yesterday at SummerSlam, Dominic Mysterio had this planned all along, where he would help Liv Morgan get the victory over on Rhea Ripley and take the side of Liv Morgan and ditch Rhea Ripley. And we saw that after Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan celebrated together after Liv Morgan defeated Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley looked as surprised, betrayed, and shocked at the fact that Dominic Mysterio purposely took the chair away from the grasp of Rhea Ripley to help aid Liv Morgan get the victory over on Rhea Ripley, and that was enough of a distraction to help Liv Morgan regroup herself to get the victory over on Rhea Ripley. Now the storyline is going to further intensify, and the Judgment Day came to an implosion at this night, this past Saturday at SummerSlam, and that was only the beginning part of the implosion within the Judgment Day, which has been a dominant faction in the WWE for a long time. Now, and the psychology that was played out throughout the match was very classic as well, with Rhea Ripley having frustrations and vent up anger towards Liv Morgan, who currently holds her Women's World title that she never lost. And Liv Morgan has been trying to take away Dominic Mysterio from Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley was more furious than she normally is, and that's what was her attitude throughout the course of the match. Rhea Ripley showed more pent-up aggression in this match, while Liv Morgan was playing the cat and mouse game, and Liv Morgan was targeting the recovered arm of Rhea Ripley throughout the course of the match. And I thought that was a cool aspect that was displayed throughout the opening contest to this year's SummerSlam. And then the next match on the card was for the Intercontinental title, a rematch from Money in the Bank. Bron Breakker challenging Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title, and Bron Breakker got the better of Sami Zayn in this match, unlike their first match at Money in the Bank, which was a hard-hitting, hard contact, good action, good back and forth match we saw produced out of these two. Sami Zayn has been performing at a high level when it comes to in-ring skills. Before he even signed with the WWE, he had a reputation of being a highly technically sound wrestler when he was wrestling in the indie scene, and Bron Breakker had a lot of promising future when he was doing his thing in NXT, and before he took on this hound dog persona with this aggressive, not give a F attitude, and this vicious hound dog, and this ultra physical, hard-hitting, athletic, and meaner than ever, show more than talk attitude, and this persona that Bron Breakker took on when he was a babyface, and he didn't have this character to him, he still had a bright future ahead of him. And when he was competing in NXT, there was a lot of eyes on Bron Breakker. And now that he got the call up to the main roster after this year's draft, he's only been living up to his potential. And he's been causing a lot of ruckus over there on Monday Night Raw, interfering in the midst of matches with top mid-carders. He took out Ricochet. As we know, Ricochet, his contract with the WWE expired, and the last time we saw Ricochet was when he got body slammed through a windshield of a car via the hands of Bron Breakker. And Bron Breakker has been getting into it with guys like Ilja Dragunov, who he had an extensive rivalry with over there on NXT, and he's been targeting after Sami Zayn and this Intercontinental title throughout the entirety of the summer, and it came to a boiling point at this year's SummerSlam. And when he had his first shot at Money in the Bank, he came up short versus a crafty veteran in Sami Zayn, but he got to avenge that loss at SummerSlam yesterday by hitting not one but two spears. And I can confidently say Bron Breakker has the best spear that I've seen of all time, better than Bill Goldberg's, who made that spear move infamous, and better than Edge's, better than Roman Reigns, and better than Rhino's. It's more explosive, it's more athletic, it's more speedy, and that's what makes that spear look so detrimental. And the bounce and the snap that Bron Breakker has to his spear is none like other, and I say it's the freshest spear that I've seen in all of professional wrestling history. And Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker had good chemistry, good back and forth action in this match. How this match ended when Sami Zayn was looking to hit the Haluma kick, which got him the victory over on Bron Breakker in their first outing at Money in the Bank. But Bron Breakker was able to catch Sami Zayn in the midst of him attempting to hit the Haluma kick, and that was the first spear. And just to reassure and to make sure that Bron Breakker secures a victory and is able to walk away as the new Intercontinental Champion, he would get the bounce from the ropes and wait for Sami Zayn to get back up on his feet to hit the second spear to make sure that he gets a victory over on Sami Zayn. And Bron Breakker was able to become the new Intercontinental Champion, and I'm looking forward to Bron Breakker's reign as the new Intercontinental Champion. He had a heck of a run as the NXT Champion when he was the NXT Champion, when he was at that developmental stage in his career. Now that he's on the main roster, Bron Breakker has got this new fresh attitude and personality about him that could take him to the top. And I'm expecting Bron Breakker to have a Gunther-like a run as the Intercontinental Champion, if not as long as Gunther's reign was, which is still to this day the longest Intercontinental Championship reign of all time. I'm looking for, as far as not longevity-wise, but performance-wise, almost if not more dominant than Gunther's reign was as the Intercontinental Champion from Bron Breakker and his run as the Intercontinental Champion. And I'll give that match between Bron Breakker and Sami Zayn a match rating of a 3 out of a 5. And the next match on the card was for the United States title. Logan Paul defending his U.S. title versus LA Knight. LA Knight had his breakout moment at last year's SummerSlam when he won the Battle Royal, and that's what brought LA Knight the hype. And before that, fans were getting behind on LA Knight after LA Knight left that ridiculous gimmick of being a modeling agent when he was the manager for Maximum Male Models, and he left that gimmick to go back to his LA Knight gimmick, which was the character that he had before he was Max Dupree in NXT. And LA Knight had a lot of potential. Before he even signed with the WWE, there was hype about him when he was in TNA. And LA Knight, he has decent in-ring ability as a wrestler, but what got him the attention was his charisma and his mic skills and his ability to talk and his ability to draw in the crowd and have the crowd enthusiastically be involved with whatever segment LA Knight is involved in. And he's done a good job at that since he got the call up to the main roster and got to perform as LA Knight. And his hype started to really come to a boiling point at around Money in the Bank time last year when he qualified to compete in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at last year's Money in the Bank, and people were expecting LA Knight to win that because of how much the fans were getting behind them. And LA Knights had opportunities at a title before when he got to wrestle Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal title, which is the main title in the WWE at Crown Jewel. And this title, the US title, is a prestigious title, but LA Knights had a shot at a even more prestigious title prior to this match at yesterday's SummerSlam event versus Logan Paul. And speaking of Crown Jewel, Logan Paul, that was the pay-per-view event where Logan Paul was able to capture the U.S. title when he defeated Rey Mysterio to become the U.S. champion. And that was the fall of last year. And that makes Logan Paul's reign as the U.S. champion almost a year-long title reign. And for a part-timer who's considered to be up there as a full-time talent and considered to be a legitimate top-tier level talent in the WWE, not only because of his clout that Logan Paul carries outside of the WWE, he is a businessman, a vlogger with a following like none other, and an extensive athletic background. He was a decorated amateur wrestler in high school, and as well as him competing in boxing before, much like his brother, but he takes boxing less seriously and wrestling more serious. And he's got other ventures. Not only is vlogging and podcasting his business, but he has his own drink brand company, an energy drink called Prime, which is the #1 sponsor to the WWE. And with that being said, his in-ring ability is up there with the best of the best, and he's proven that time after time. He's main evented pay-per-view events, Crown Jewel of 2022 when he got a shot at Roman Reigns' undisputed Universal title, and he got to compete at King and Queen of the Rings main event and challenge Cody Rhodes for that same title 2 months ago. And he's had competed in the Money in the Bank ladder matches, a high-risk match involving a lot of highlight reel spots that is required, and he's performed as well, and he's at highlight reel moments in special matches like the ladder match, like a Royal Rumble match, has matches in SummerSlam, big event matches, and that was considered top-notch matches versus guys like Ricochet and Rey Mysterio. And he actually saved Rey Mysterio from a potential career-ending injury when there was a botch that happened, and Logan Paul was able to cover for Rey Mysterio and spot him from not snapping his neck. And Logan Paul, he got to successfully defend his U.S. title at WrestleMania, the grandest stage of them all. And he's gotten in there with the likes of Seth Rollins. And Logan Paul has hung in there with the best of them and performed and was able to match these top-tier level talent wrestlers that compete full time and has been lifelong dedicated professional wrestlers. So Logan Paul's legitimacy should not be questioned at this point in his career. And as expected, LA Knight got the win over on Logan Paul, even after Logan Paul cheated after getting the brass knuckles from Machine Gun Kelly, who helped walk Logan Paul for this match versus LA Knight. And Logan Paul's buddies that was ringside, that always tend to be on the ringside supporting Logan Paul for his match, got involved involuntarily because LA Knight scooped him from over the barricade and put a mud stomping on Logan Paul's buddies. And LA Knight was able to recover at the end of the match after getting hit with Logan Paul's lucky punch. And Logan Paul had a spaz out moment where he hit a Jacob Fatu-like moonsault, a springboard moonsault, a split-legged springboard moonsault from the apron onto the outside, and hit a frog splash and combinations of moves. Him and LA Knight had good chemistry and good back and forth of the action, a high speed pace match that we saw produced out of these two. And these two got to work with each other throughout the summer prior to their meeting at yesterday's SummerSlam. So they got to work together to be able to produce a work chemistry, to be able to produce a match of this quality. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. After LA Knight hit the BFT to secure the win over on Logan Paul, he got his first win as a singles competitor and his first singles title as a professional wrestler in the WWE. Long time coming. Congratulations to LA Knight. Much well deserved. And this is a good start for LA Knight's championship career, with this being his first win at a big event like SummerSlam, which is the second biggest professional wrestling event after WrestleMania, and it's been that way for decades now. And for LA Knight to have this back-to-back reoccurring SummerSlam moments, it's really a cool moment for LA Knight. And his resume, he could add another impressive, illustrious accomplishment to his resume, and him defeating Logan Paul the way he did and ending Logan Paul's lengthy U.S. title reign. No other better wrestler that I could suggest right now that's got the hot streak like a LA Knight that is deserving to take the U.S. title off from somebody as credible as a Logan Paul. And I was expecting LA Knight to get this win at SummerSlam. I was expecting all titles to change at SummerSlam other than Liv Morgan's title. That was the only title that I was expecting to not change hands at SummerSlam, because Liv Morgan had just recently won that women's world title only a month or two ago. I don't even know if it has been a full 2 months yet since Liv Morgan won that title from Becky Lynch at King and Queen of the Ring. And as I said, LA Knight, he's been chasing after Logan Paul for some time now. And LA Knight, he got a win over on Logan Paul in, I believe, Logan Paul's first televised SmackDown match in a 3-way match that we saw. And I believe it was a Money in the Bank ladder match, qualifier match between Logan Paul, LA Knight, and Santos Escobar. And that's when LA Knight first got the best of Logan Paul, and that's what led to this match, the singles match between Paul and Knight. And the right man won the match, and it was a good match that we saw for the U.S. title. And as I said, the WWE has done a tremendous job, an incredible job at making the mid-card title shine once again and adding prestigious value to both the U.S. and Intercontinental titles, because for a while, before I could say 2021, the WWE didn't put a lot of effort and emphasis towards the mid-card titles. The Intercontinental title and the U.S. title both became almost forgotten about and left on the back burner, with the WWE not putting their focus on their Intercontinental and U.S. titles. And then the next match on the card we saw was for the WWE Women's title, Bayley defending her WWE Women's title versus the Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax. And Nia Jax has been a threat ever since she came back to the WWE. And her winning Queen of the Ring this year helped her cement her legitimacy even more. And Nia Jax, before her return to the WWE, was already accomplished. She did her thing in NXT, and I believe she was NXT Women's Champion there. And she's held the women's title before as well, before leaving the WWE, and once held the women's tag titles as well. And she's been competing at a high level ever since she came back into action to the WWE. And she got to win the WWE Women's title once again after she defeated Bayley after hitting 2 sit-down sentons, after Bayley got distracted after taking out Tiffany Stratton, who had recently aligned herself with Nia Jax. And Tiffany Stratton is the current Miss Money in the Bank after she won the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match at the last pay-per-view Money in the Bank, and deservingly so. And Tiffany Stratton, she's almost became a companion that helps escort Nia Jax to her matches, and she's aligned herself with Nia Jax against Bayley, and Bayley had to fight both Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and that's the target Bayley had to deal with, being WWE Women's Champion, which isn't nothing new to Bayley, because Bayley has been Women's Champion in NXT and in WWE in the past. She just recently had a character change, so she's more serious than she was when she was Hugger Bayley in NXT and the beginning stages of her main roster career, and her run as being a part of the Damage Control and her heel run, and when she was working with the likes of Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, she helped revolutionize the refreshment of the WWE Women's Wrestling and the revival part of it. And Bayley was a big part of that, and so was Nia Jax. So this was almost like a reunion of some sort of both women's wrestlers that helped the WWE revive women's wrestling to the stage where it's currently at. And they had a heck of a match that we saw, a lengthy match, and shout out to the WWE for that, for giving these two ladies enough time to display all their talent. And they got to put on one of the best matches that we saw featured for this year's SummerSlam. I'll give this match a match rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And this match was, as I said, good back and forth action. And Tiffany Stratton, her faking that cash-in attempt, I don't know how legit it was. It could have been Tiffany Stratton helping Nia Jax secure that win, as they were looking to do leading up to this match at SummerSlam. Because when Tiffany Stratton tried to pull off that Drew McIntyre, when Drew McIntyre won the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at the last pay-per-view before SummerSlam and Money in the Bank, he cashed in during the midst of the world title match between Damian Priest and Seth Rollins, but he failed because CM Punk interfered and cost them yet another chance at winning the World Heavyweight title, and Damian Priest was able to walk away as the winner and successfully be able to defend his world title in defeating Drew McIntyre and both Seth Rollins. And that match was a little dragged out. You could tell Damian Priest was very tired because he couldn't kick out. There was a botch where Seth Rollins, I believe, hit the pedigree, and once Seth Rollins hit the pedigree on Damian Priest couldn't physically kick out. The referee had to pretend as if Damian Priest kicked out, and that caused a moment to the WWE fans in attendance when that spot happened, and that was a botch. So Drew McIntyre getting involved in that match wasn't a bad look because it helped carry on the rest of the match, and it helped further develop the storyline, the rivalry between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, which came to a boiling point yesterday at SummerSlam. And as I said, I don't know how long this alliance is going to last between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, with Tiffany Stratton still being Miss Money in the Bank, and now that Nia Jax is the WWE Women's Champion. Will Tiffany Stratton look to cash in on Nia Jax if that opportunity comes to arise? Is Tiffany Stratton going to turn babyface because she does have a lot of momentum and fans are getting behind her because she can work in the ring? She's got the right character and the right personality and the right talking ability to have that stardom power, which she already has. And with the fan support and the attention that she already has, it won't be a bad idea for the WWE to look forward to potentially turning Tiffany Stratton to a babyface and possibly cash in on Nia Jax and start a rivalry between two polar opposite characters between Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany Stratton is like that bratty character that helps Nia Jax, who is the powerful force out of the two, and they help balance each other out. Tiffany Stratton helps distract Nia Jax's opponent for Nia Jax to impose her will against her opponents, and Nia Jax helps protect Tiffany Stratton. So right now, this alliance is probably going to last until the next major event, which is Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. I'm just looking forward to seeing how this reign plays out for Nia Jax, as now she is the new WWE Women's Champion. And then the next match on the card, we saw CM Punk compete against Drew McIntyre, with Seth Rollins being a special guest referee. All three of these wrestlers having shared history, as we know when CM Punk made his triumphant return to the WWE at last year's SummerSlam. Seth Rollins was enraged, and we saw Seth Rollins cuss at CM Punk from ringside after the War Games main event, where it was Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and I don't know if Drew McIntyre was involved in that match. I forgot who the fourth member was. No, it was Randy Orton. It was Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, and Seth Rollins versus the Judgment Day in the War Games match. And CM Punk made his comeback to the WWE in his home crowd in Chicago, Illinois. And Seth Rollins was heated to a point where he ignored the moment that the crowd shared with CM Punk's return, and was too busy cussing at Seth Rollins was too busy cussing at CM Punk that the referee and the security guards had to restrain Seth Rollins because he was overly emotional and lashing out at CM Punk. And they had a face-off before the Royal Rumble, and it was after the Royal Rumble CM Punk was taken out of action due to an arm injury. And CM Punk also had a face-off versus Drew McIntyre, and this was during the melting point of Drew McIntyre's heel turn. And Drew McIntyre attacked CM Punk when CM Punk was injured, helping Drew McIntyre gain that heat that he needed to build the momentum as a heel. And right now, Drew McIntyre is one of the hottest heels in WWE right now. And with the reputation that CM Punk has, this helps Drew McIntyre's case as him being one of the best heels in the WWE right now. And this was one of the most intensified rivalries, and still is currently, that the WWE has got going on right now with Seth Rollins' involvement. And Seth Rollins recently came back into action after taking some time off to heal his body after WrestleMania, where he lost his world title to Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre didn't even get to hold that title for longer than 5 minutes because he was too busy showing off at CM Punk because he did tell the world and CM Punk that he would be able to capture the world title at WrestleMania, which he did. But CM Punk, when Drew McIntyre turned his back on him, attacked Drew McIntyre to shut Drew McIntyre up, and that gave the room of opportunity for Mr. Money in the Bank at that time. That was Damian Priest, and Damian Priest took advantage of that opportunity that was available for him, and he cashed in his Money in the Bank to successfully become the new World Heavyweight Champion and have his WrestleMania moment. And Drew McIntyre was looking to gain back his world title, and CM Punk, the day after WrestleMania on Raw, helped cause Drew McIntyre lose a #1 contenders match to Jey Uso for Drew McIntyre to have another shot at capturing the world title at Backlash, because if McIntyre was to defeat Jey Uso and Bronson Reed, then instead of Jey Uso having that match versus Damian Priest, it would have been Drew McIntyre, but CM Punk costed him, and CM Punk became like a ghost that was haunting Drew McIntyre, that Drew McIntyre was badly wanting to get rid of. And at Clash at the Castle, same story. Instead of the Bloodline helping cost Drew McIntyre a win at a world title, this time it was CM Punk. If it isn't one bad hole that Drew McIntyre is dealing with, it's another. If it was a Bloodline a year or two ago, now it's CM Punk. Because CM Punk, unlike the first Clash at the Castle, which was held in Wales, which is close to where Drew McIntyre is built to be from, but this year's Clash at the Castle was actually in Scotland, which is where Drew McIntyre is originally built to be from, and that's his hometown. CM Punk made it more personal than the Bloodline did, because not only did he ruin Drew McIntyre's full WrestleMania moment, not only did he cost Drew McIntyre another shot at the world title, an immediate rematch that Drew McIntyre could have got versus Damian Priest at Backlash, but in an actual match at Clash at the Castle in his hometown in Scotland, Drew McIntyre is yet again screwed by CM Punk at a possible win at a world title, and yet another big stadium moment that Drew McIntyre could have had versus a world champion. And at Money in the Bank, we saw the same. Drew McIntyre, after he fought a hard-fought battle to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match at this year's Money in the Bank, when he decides to cash it in, when both Seth Rollins and Damian Priest is beat to a pulp, CM Punk yet again costs him another brilliant opportunity to Drew McIntyre possibly becoming world champion. And it came to a boiling point at yesterday's SummerSlam, and with Seth Rollins being involved with both guys, him being the special guest referee made all the sense. And with the physicality that's been displayed between Punk and McIntyre because of the intense, heated feelings that they share for one another, the referees were saying it's getting out of hand for them to be able to officiate this match between the two. Hence why Adam Pearce, the Raw general manager, had to anoint Seth Rollins as the special guest referee for this match at SummerSlam. And this match was physical. It was good. It was good action, good active, back and forth pace that we saw out of these two wrestlers. And Drew McIntyre got the win, rightfully so. And I can say that because CM Punk, because when he was in his prime, before he was this injury prone, and that's almost a decade ago, I could say over a decade ago, was CM Punk's heydays. Because when he was in the tip-top shape of his career, I could say was from his ROH days, before he signed with the WWE back in 2006, when ECW became the third brand for the WWE, which was a fail. I don't know why WWE decided to bring back ECW as a brand. They should have left it as it was, and that's because of the successful turnout of the event from that they saw from One Night Stand from '05, that they decided to continue that pay-per-view and actually bring ECW back alive, which was a mistake. But CM Punk been doing this thing and was considered to be one of the best in-ring competitors back in the independent circuit. And when he signed with the WWE, he got to live to his full potential, not character-wise, but status-wise, because he won Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 24, and that was 2008, and he got to successfully cash in his Money in the Bank to become world champion in 2008, and then he had a extensive rivalry with top names like Edge, Batista, John Cena, Jeff Hardy, Undertaker. Then in 2012, he became leader of Nexus, and he got to wrestle guys like Randy Orton, Triple H, and Daniel Bryan, and names go on and on. And CM Punk, he was a full-time competitor during these times, and the reason why he is so injury-prone nowadays is probably because he had to wrestle full-time while battling injuries during the heydays of his career. But CM Punk is still able to compete at a top level, as he's showing when he was signed with AEW. His last match in AEW was versus Samoa Joe, who he has an extensive history with from their ROH days, and he had a decent outing in his last AEW bout versus Samoa Joe at AEW All In. And CM Punk had good matches versus MJF. That was one of AEW's best produced rivalries still to this day. And CM Punk had good matches versus Hangman Adam Page and versus Jon Moxley and names like that. And CM Punk, he had struggled with injuries when he was in AEW as well. After he wrestled at Double or Nothing versus Hangman Adam Page, he was put on the injury list. Then he came back and defeated Jon Moxley to become AEW champion, and then he injured himself yet again. And then there was controversy with him and the executive VPs, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, which got him suspended and then ultimately fired, and then AEW decided to reinstate him. Then he got into another backstage altercation, which led to CM Punk leaving AEW and re-signing and rejoining the WWE. And that was the right move for both CM Punk and the WWE, because it brought a lot of attention to not only the WWE but CM Punk once again, because CM Punk, yes, for avid wrestling fans, he was already reputable when he was wrestling in the independent circuit, when he made his name out there in CZW and ROH and companies like that. But to the mass majority, CM Punk became a big name when he put in his work with the WWE, and he became very public and became one of the most well-known wrestlers after he dropped his pipe bomb back in 2011, the summer of 2011. And that's when CM Punk became as reputable as he is today. And then after he controversially walked away from the WWE because he wasn't satisfied with the way how the WWE was treating him, hence why he walked away without saying a word. And controversy tends to follow CM Punk a lot, and we saw that with his farewell to the WWE back in 2014, when he decided to walk away from the WWE after Royal Rumble because he was fed up with how the WWE was managing him. And then he tried his luck with comic books and podcasting and MMA because he competed in the UFC twice. That's how much notoriety CM Punk carried after leaving the WWE. Then he brought a lot of attention to AEW when he decided to sign with AEW and try his luck once again with the professional wrestling business. And he did his thing in AEW for a year or two, and now that he's back in WWE, it was a rejuvenating feel to both the wrestling fans in the wrestling world and the WWE, and I'm quite sure for CM Punk as well, because the WWE has been skyrocketing with their production and their product quality, not only when it comes to their matches, but their storytelling as well. They've stepped up their game, and that's why CM Punk being a addition to the WWE is a good look, and to get him in there with their current top talent like a Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, it's a good look for CM Punk and guys like that as well. And of course, CM Punk shares a history with Seth Rollins as well, because they both came up together relatively at the same time, and they were top names once upon in time when they were both competing in ROH. And that's where the history comes into play between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And as I said, this was a hard-hitting physical match we saw from these two, and there was storytelling throughout the match as well. It was hard-hitting because of the personal beef that they share for this feud. Both CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins did get involved in this match when things tended to get out of hand, and things did come to a out of a hand point when CM Punk decided to put his hands on Seth Rollins and hit the go to sleep on Seth Rollins after Seth Rollins got taken out of action by being accidentally bumped into both CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And when CM Punk hit the GTS on Drew McIntyre, which should have got the win for CM Punk, but Seth Rollins was taken out of the ring because of that bump. So it was like a 7 or 8 count that CM Punk got over on Drew McIntyre, but by the time Seth Rollins got there, Drew McIntyre was able to recover and kick out of that pin attempt from CM Punk, and that's what led CM Punk to lose it and put his hands on Seth Rollins, and that gave a room of opportunity for Drew McIntyre to slither in there to hit CM Punk with a cheap shot, low blow, and then hit Punk with a Claymore to get the win. And after this match, because Seth Rollins did have CM Punk's bracelet, which has his wife's name and his dog's name on it, which is very personal to CM Punk, that Drew McIntyre got from CM Punk after assaulting CM Punk on an episode of SmackDown a few weeks ago. And that's been a part of their storyline, and Drew McIntyre once again took it out of the grasp of CM Punk after CM Punk retrieved it from Seth Rollins' grasp after hitting Seth Rollins with the GTS, and Drew McIntyre celebrated over on CM Punk, who he got a victory over on, and that was a satisfying moment for Drew McIntyre to get the upper hand on CM Punk after all that CM Punk has been putting him through, costing him world title matches after world title matches, world title opportunities after world title opportunities. Drew McIntyre had this look of a satisfying relief of getting that vengeance on CM Punk and getting a win over on CM Punk. Now, is this rivalry going to continue? Probably, because Seth Rollins' involvement and how CM Punk should have won this match if it wasn't for Seth Rollins being taken out of action and counting after what should have been a 3 count. And I'll give that match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And the next match on the card we saw was for the world title between Damian Priest and Gunther. After Gunther defeated Randy Orton to become King of the Ring at King and Queen of the Ring this year, he got to challenge at SummerSlam for the world title versus Damian Priest. And how this match was built, Gunther having a total different background from Damian Priest. Damian Priest having a battle from the independent circus scene and his journey of being overlooked and him shaping himself to be the man he is today took a lot of work. And Gunther has always had the reputation of being the classic wrestler, and when it comes to them molding themselves into the shape that they are today, they have similar backgrounds. But Damian Priest, how his story has been built, he had to work from the bottom up. Gunther already had a reputation of being well respected as a highly skilled in-ring competitor, hence the nickname Ring General. And Gunther, he's earned himself a reputation of being one of the best workers in all of professional wrestling during his NXT UK days, and he had a short run in the NXT. It wasn't long until Gunther got the call up to the main roster, and as immediately Gunther got the call up to the main roster, he became Intercontinental Champion, and still to this day is the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And this was his first shot at the world title, and he was successful because he defeated Damian Priest in a controversial manner, though. Because Finn Balor, this is what I meant by saying the Judgment Day came to a implosion last night at SummerSlam. Not only with Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley and what transpired between them during the opening contest to this year's SummerSlam, but what had happened in the world title match. And they were teasing it before this match actually happened because Damian Priest was upset at how things turned out with Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, that Damian Priest, who has taken the leadership role as the leader of the Judgment Day, him being world champion and all, and before that he was Miss Money in the Bank, and he was tag team champions with Finn Balor. And not only that, Damian Priest was the original member to the foundation of the Judgment Day, because remember, the Judgment Day was founded by Edge, and the first member to the Judgment Day was Damian Priest. The Judgment Day came into life at WrestleMania 38 when Edge defeated AJ Styles because of Damian Priest's help. And then Finn Balor, who was helping AJ Styles battle the Judgment Day, Edge and Damian Priest at that time, and Rhea Ripley joined the Judgment Day along with Edge and Damian Priest, and Liv Morgan was helping Finn Balor and AJ Styles take on the original Judgment Day. So Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest are the only two OG Judgment Day members. Finn Balor, after the Judgment Day defeated him and AJ Styles, decided to join the Judgment Day. And when Finn Balor joined the Judgment Day, that's when they turned on Edge to make the Judgment Day a group amongst themselves consisting of Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, and Finn Balor. And then later on, Dominic Mysterio joined after he turned on Edge and his own father, Rey Mysterio, to align himself with the Judgment Day. And then JD McDonough, after he got drafted from NXT on the Raw, he decided to join his longtime friend, who is Finn Balor, who both came up together before they signed with the WWE. And then now Carlito, who I believe isn't an official member of the Judgment Day, but is associated with the Judgment Day. After Carlito got drafted over to Raw, he's been seen with the Judgment Day. And even though he's not an official member, Carlito is still there side by side with the Judgment Day and is always seen with them and is involved in their storylines as well. And currently right now, the tag team titles over there on Raw is held by the Judgment Day. JD McDonough and Finn Balor are the current World Tag Team Champions. And I say the implosion happened at SummerSlam this was the nail in the coffin with things coming to implosion with the Judgment Day, because Finn Balor cost Damian Priest and his win to successfully be able to defend the world title versus Gunther, because after Damian Priest hit the South of Heaven on Gunther, he would have got the 3 count if Finn Balor didn't place Gunther's foot on the bottom rope. And Damian Priest had taken notice of that and was looking to take out his anger on Finn Balor, who was looking possessed, looking like as if he's on demon time, and staring ferociously at Damian Priest. And that's what led Damian Priest to go after Finn Balor. And Finn Balor was in retreat mode, and that gave time to Gunther to recover. And Gunther seized the room of opportunity and started to attack Damian Priest and put Damian Priest into a sleeper hold. And Damian Priest, with the sheer willpower, was fighting his way out of the sleeper hold that Gunther had placed on him. Then Gunther noticed that he was losing grip. Then Gunther, being the ring general that he is, being aware of what is currently going on throughout the match, he would make the adjustment to hit Damian Priest with a devastating clothesline and follow that up with a power bomb. Then once again place that sleeper hold on Damian Priest to make sure that Damian Priest passes out and he gets the win to become the new World Heavyweight Champion. And Damian Priest had a good run as a World Champion, winning at WrestleMania and having multiple title defenses on both pay-per-view events and on Monday Night Raws. And he's had good matches versus Jey Uso. Hard to have a bad match with that guy. Had a good match, a very dragged out match versus one of the best workhorses of all time, Seth Rollins. And he had a good match versus Gunther. This was, I'd say, by far Damian Priest's best match that Damian Priest has competed in for the world title ever since he became world champion. And he had a good match with Drew McIntyre as well. He had 2 back-to-back botches in main event world title matches at pay-per-view. He had his legs caught up, tied against the ropes at Clash at the Castle. Then he couldn't kick out from that pedigree that Seth Rollins hit on him at Money in the Bank. Granted, both were long, dragged out matches, and that's a good thing, by the way, because the WWE is giving world title matches enough time for wrestlers to orchestrate it without it being rushed. And that's why WWE has done a better job at orchestrating and organizing better choreographed matches. And this was hard hitting. When you have a hard hitter like Gunther and a hard hitter, a hybrid style wrestler like a Damian Priest, you're bound to have a good match from wrestlers like that. And Finn Balor made an interference out of Damian Priest's favor at the beginning. Then Gunther took him out of action by kicking him. And Damian Priest has been, this is why I say this implosion, it's been rumored, it's been teased that Finn Balor and Damian Priest were going to butt heads and possibly get into a feud amongst the Judgment Day. And that was when they were tag team champions, when Damian Priest decided to take control of things. And Damian Priest, after he became Mr. Money in the Bank, he started to show hints of that. And then when he became world champion, he started to show more obvious hints by telling his fellow Judgment Day members to not get involved in his business. For example, when JD McDonough and Finn Balor decided to attack Jey Uso after Damian Priest defeated him after the help of JD McDonough and Finn Balor. Damian Priest told both Finn Balor and JD McDonough to back off. And Judgment Day didn't get involved during Damian Priest's match versus Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins as well, because Damian Priest wanted to take care of his own business, and it was more personal with Gunther because of the two different backgrounds that both wrestlers are kayfabe to be from, and that's why it was more personal, and Damian Priest didn't want nobody involved in this match, and Damian Priest was also distracted with what had transpired with his fellow Judgment Day members, Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, and he voiced his displeasement and his anger towards Finn Balor when he was disgruntled about what had happened between Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. And Finn Balor has been the voice of reason to talk calm senses back into Damian Priest when Damian Priest would get heated. And I guess Finn Balor had enough of Damian Priest coming to implosions and voicing his frustrations and anger at Finn Balor whenever things of his dislike comes to happen. And now is the Judgment Day going to still be the top group on Monday Night Raw? Now both Finn Balor and JD McDonough, who are a part of the Judgment Day, are still the tag team champions. Is Liv Morgan going to be the new female face of the Judgment Day? Is the Judgment Day only going to consist of Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and the tag team champions, along with Carlito being on their side? And is Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley going to join forces to combat the Judgment Day versus the, well, not new Judgment Day other than Liv Morgan, if she decides to join Dominic Mysterio, and if the Judgment Day decides to stick around without Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley? I think on Monday Night Raw, the main program is going to be the Judgment Day along with Liv Morgan and Carlito versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, and whoever else is going to join them alongside to help fight the Judgment Day. It could be Awesome Truth, who's going to want to gain back the World Tag Team titles from Finn Balor and JD McDonough to help even out the numbers. That would be Damian Priest and Awesome Truth, and maybe Braun Strowman, who's been having problems with the Judgment Day as well, to take on four guys right there, the tag team champions, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, along with Dominic Mysterio and Carlito versus Damian Priest, Awesome Truth, and Braun Strowman. And then Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley can continue their feud for the Women's World title. I think that would make the most sense as far as how things are looking right now over there on Monday Night Raw. And I'll give the match, if I already didn't give it a rating, a 3.5 out of a 5. The world title match between Damian Priest and Gunther. And I'm looking forward to Gunther being world champion, because as dominant as he was in NXT UK, and him being the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time, and him already having a well-accomplished resume with his ongoing successful career, now that he's world champion, I'm looking forward to what WWE is going to do with Gunther as the world champion over there on Monday Night Raw. And this is perfect on time, because the next pay-per-view, Gunther being an Austrian wrestler, the next pay-per-view is Bash at the Berlin, which is hosted in Germany. It's not Austria, but it's relatively close to Austria. I believe it's only a train ride away to commute from Austria to Germany. So it's going to be almost like a welcome home for Gunther for WWE's next pay-per-view, which is Bash at the Berlin. And with Gunther, I'm quite sure, being the world champion now, he's going to have the main event slot at Bash at the Berlin. And I don't know if it's gonna be a rematch versus Damian Priest one-on-one. I don't know if Finn Balor's gonna get involved to make it a triple threat three-way match for the world title, or if they're gonna have a special stipulation for the rematch between Gunther and Damian Priest for the world title. And I'm quite sure Gunther is going to have a successful reign as a world champion. It won't make sense with the hype and the momentum that Gunther got going on right now, that him being the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time and him winning King of the Ring this year. And that is already a well illustrated, accomplished resume that Gunther has. It won't make sense for Gunther to not have a successful, lengthy reign as the world champion. For him to step down from all these accomplishments, him having the reign that he did at NXT UK and as the Intercontinental champion and winning King of the Ring this year. And I'm looking forward to the WWE putting in a lot of effort to Gunther being world champion. And then the main event was a Bloodlines rule match between Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa for the Universal title. I was expecting Solo Sikoa to win this match because Cody Rhodes has built this hype other than his return to the WWE at WrestleMania 38 when he got to face Seth Rollins as Seth Rollins' surprise mystery opponent, and he had his comeback legendary feud versus Seth Rollins. And then unfortunately for Cody Rhodes, he hurt his pectoral muscles, which took him out of action for almost a year. Then he won Royal Rumble back-to-back, and then he failed at capturing the Universal title at WrestleMania 39 versus Roman Reigns, and he had to start over again and climb from the bottom to the top to have another shot at the Universal title at WrestleMania 40, where he was successful at capturing the Universal title versus Roman Reigns under a Bloodlines rules match at this year's WrestleMania. And that's how Cody Rhodes has built this hype. Cody Rhodes, before that, he had a lot of hype because of the potential with the skills that he displayed when he was signed to the WWE back in 2007. Then he joined Legacy alongside with Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase, was tag team champions then. Then he started competing at the mid-cards, winning the Intercontinental title, having multiple gimmicks, dashing Cody Rhodes, undashing Cody Rhodes, and teaming with Drew McIntyre, and then his older brother Goldust, then taking on the Stardust gimmick. Then after he had creative differences with the WWE, he started his own wrestling company alongside with his friends, along with the help of billionaire Tony Khan as executive VP of AEW. Then he didn't like how things were going for him in AEW. Then he leaves the company that he helped build, and then he joins the WWE again, and then he becomes tag team champions with Jey Uso, then wins the Royal Rumble again this year, then was able to capture the Universal title and dethrone Roman Reigns to become that. And his come-up story is a lot more appealing and has been more entertaining than his title reign as the actual champion. Don't get it wrong, he's had good top tier level quality matches. He got in there with the likes of AJ Styles and Logan Paul, and those guys, when you get in there with wrestlers like those guys, it's hard to produce a bad match versus names like AJ Styles and Logan Paul. And Cody Rhodes being a good in-ring competitor as well, you are expected for a good match, especially when it comes to the top prize in the industry, the WWE Universal title. But when it comes to the most entertaining side of things on the SmackDown brand, has been and still is this revival, this rejuvenation of the bloodline. After Roman Reigns disappeared after being defeated at WrestleMania 40, Solo Sikoa has took charge as the new head of the table. He first made his move as the new tribal chief by taking out his older brother Jimmy Uso after he voiced his displeasement at how the main event at WrestleMania 40 turned out. And he took out Jimmy Uso and he introduced Tama Tonga as the newest addition and as the new enforcer to overtake Solo Sikoa's old position as the enforcer of the bloodline and establish Tama Tonga as the new enforcer to the bloodline. Then they defeated Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, who's been feuding with the bloodline for a long time before Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga were both a part of the bloodline. And they defeated Kevin Owens and Randy Orton at Backlash with the debut of Tama Longa's younger brother, Tonga Loa, who was the next newest addition to the bloodline. And then when things were looking rocky for the bloodline, Solo Sikoa would add another new addition to the bloodline, Jacob Fatu. And Jacob Fatu, with the reputation that he already had prior to him signing with the WWE and joining the bloodline, has been a force to be reckoned with, not only for his athleticism and his amazing in-ring ability, but Jacob Fatu's character suits him really well with his aggressive, get things done more than talk attitude. And these guys, the new bloodline under the leadership of Solo Sikoa, has been putting the whole entire WWE on notice. And they got a victory over on Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens at Money in the Bank in a brutal Bloodline Rules 6-man tag team match where the Bloodline got the best of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. And the Bloodline has been decimating Randy Orton and Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. And Solo Sikoa has decided to step up to challenge Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal title. And Cody Rhodes, I could confidently say, his reign as the Universal Champion hasn't lived up to the hype that surrounded him for his build that was leading up to him to win the Universal title. Now that he is the actual Universal Champion, the hype is nowhere near the same as it once was when he wasn't champion. So I thought it was appropriate for Solo Sikoa to dethrone Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, the next biggest pay-per-view event after WrestleMania, to defeat Cody Rhodes and become the WWE Universal Champion. Now, you can't say Solo Sikoa is still a little green, but with the impressive work that Solo Sikoa has been performing as of recently, it is very well deserved. He's proven over and over again that he is worthy to be amongst the top of the main event of the WWE. And him main eventing SummerSlam, a stadium event, the second biggest wrestling pay-per-view event, is already enough proof that Sikoa is a legitimate talent to be reckoned with, and he always has been. And the match that was produced out of these two, it was as expected. Good back and forth action, good pace of a match. And I'll give this match a rating of a 3.5 out of a 5. And of course, there was interferences in this match. First, from the Bloodline, we saw Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga make interference on behalf of Solo Sikoa, and then it was neutralized by Randy Orton and Kevin Owens to even out the odds. And they continued their brawl outside of the ring, and they took themselves out of action. Did Kevin Owens and Randy Orton and Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga. Then Jacob Fatu, the other half of the new WWE Tag Team Champions, because if y'all saw the latest episode of SmackDown, the Bloodline was able to defeat DIY to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. It's Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu that are the new WWE Tag Team Champions. And Jacob Fatu, looking dominant as he always does, he took out Cody Rhodes by multiple moonsaults, Whisper in the Wind, then a Uso splash from the top rope onto the announce table. Then Cody Rhodes was able to get back up on his feet. Jacob Fatu was taken out of action. Then both Solo Sikoa and Cody Rhodes was wore out from the battle that was ongoing for the Universal title. Then out of nowhere, Roman Reigns' music hits, and Roman Reigns got a new shirt saying OTC. I guess it either stands for Original Tribal Chief or One Tribal Chief. And as you know, Solo Sikoa has said that Roman Reigns is no more. He is the new head of the table. Solo Sikoa is the new tribal chief of the Bloodline. The Bloodline is under the leadership and tutelage and the rulership of Solo Sikoa. And whoever decides to question that is going to be taken out by any means necessary. And he even took out the wise man, Paul Heyman, by force when Paul Heyman wouldn't give the acknowledgement to Solo Sikoa as the Bloodline's tribal chief. And now that Roman Reigns is back, the reason why I had said that it would have made sense for Solo Sikoa to win the WWE Universal title last night at SummerSlam is to see that feud for the Universal title between Solo Sikoa and Roman Reigns. But because Cody Rhodes defeated Solo Sikoa with the help of Roman Reigns, I can say maybe sometime in the future a potential world title feud between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa is safe for the future, while Cody Rhodes still gets to be the WWE Universal Champion. Roman Reigns didn't do no talking, didn't do no stare down. He didn't walk into the ring with hesitation. As soon as he got in the ring, he hit Solo Sikoa with a Superman punch and followed it up with a spear. Then Cody Rhodes hit the crossroads, which he hit multiple times, because both Sikoa and Rhodes hit their respective finishers, with both wrestlers kicking out of their respective finishers. But that was the end of the match between Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. And Roman Reigns and both Cody Rhodes stared at each other. And I don't know if Roman Reigns is going to be competing at Bash at the Berlin, because usually we're used to seeing Roman Reigns compete at SummerSlam. Immediately after WrestleMania, Roman Reigns took time off. We haven't seen him in over 4 months. And Roman Reigns would usually compete at around this time at the beginning of the summer all the way till SummerSlam, and we usually don't see Roman Reigns back till Crown Jewel Survivor Series time. Now that he took time off between the spring and the summer, will we see Roman Reigns for the fall of this year? Will we see Roman Reigns be at full-time active, a part of the SmackDown roster from after SummerSlam all the way till Survivor Series, Crown Jewel? And how are things going to look over there on SmackDown now that Roman Reigns is back? We know that there's going to be an internal feud within the Bloodline, and it's most likely that because right now it's the Bloodline consisting of Solo Sikoa and his leadership, and who is aligned with Solo Sikoa and the rejuvenated Bloodline consisting of Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, and Tonga Loa. And is Roman Reigns going to be aligned with Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens, who's been fighting the Bloodline all summer long? And that evens out the numbers 4-on-4 if you add Roman Reigns to help assist Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. Now, Jimmy Uso and Hikuleo, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but we've seen him in AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling as a part of the Bullet Club. As we know, we've seen Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga be a part of that legendary group, the Bullet Club, over there in New Japan. And he is rumored to be signing with the WWE, and he has worked closely with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and isn't a unfamiliar face of the Bloodline. And Zilla Fatu as well, Umaga's son, he's been rumored to be spotted at SummerSlam. It was talked about that he was going to make his debut because he was seen around Cleveland before SummerSlam, and he's rumored to be signed with the WWE, much like how Jacob Fatu was rumored to be signed with the WWE before he officially made his debut with the WWE. And if those guys get involved, if Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu does in fact sign with the WWE, and there could be an all internal Bloodline feud with Jimmy Uso, Hikuleo, Zilla Fatu, and Roman Reigns being one side of the Bloodline versus the other side of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tonga Loa, and Tama Tonga. And that could be a War Games main event match for Survivor Series this year. If not, we could see Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns versus the updated Bloodline. And if not, we could see Roman Reigns possibly get recruitment offers to help aid Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton fight the Bloodline. But it's probably going to be that Roman Reigns is going to look to do his own thing and look to fight for his position with the Bloodline. And possibly we could see Roman Reigns trying to talk to Jacob Fatu, Tonga Loa, and Tama Tonga about the leadership of the Bloodline. And then who knows what the future holds? Who knows if there's going to be the Bloodline family members that's going to be new assignees to the WWE. And who knows if Jimmy Uso is going to come back and align himself with Roman Reigns to get a piece of Solo Sikoa, who took him out of action after WrestleMania. And it's talked about that the Usos may possibly unite, even though Jey Uso is successful in doing his own thing, who has completely separated himself from the Bloodline to do his own individual thing. And he's been doing it well over there on Monday Night Raw, one of the most well-over wrestlers with the crowd as a singles competitor. And much like LA Knight and Bron Breakker, I'm looking forward to seeing Jey Uso and what he can accomplish as a solo competitor. But if it is highly demanded by the fans and the public, it is very likely that we could see the reunification of Jimmy and Jey Usos, perhaps the greatest tag team of all time, had the longest reigning tag team title reigns in WWE history. And for them to fight the brothers on the updated Bloodline, Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga, or the new WWE Tag Team Champions, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. But then there would have to be a trade from Raw to SmackDown, because Jey Uso has been doing his own thing for over a year now over there on Raw as a singles competitor. Jimmy Uso doesn't have as much experience as his brother does competing solo. So it's going to be more of a help for Jimmy Uso, for Jey Uso to reunite with him, to perhaps join Roman Reigns to help fight the updated Bloodline. And will there be a trade between Raw and SmackDown, another sweep swap between Jey Uso and Kevin Owens? And it's been talked about for a long time that Cody Rhodes may possibly get into a feud with Randy Orton. We saw at Clash at the Castle when Randy Orton and Kevin Owens helped Cody Rhodes fight off Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline after Cody Rhodes defeated AJ Styles in that I Quit match. We saw Randy Orton take a sneak peek at Cody Rhodes' WWE Universal title, and that would be a legendary rivalry in the making. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton feuded during the beginning stages of Cody Rhodes' career, and Randy Orton has a past history with Cody Rhodes' father, Dusty Rhodes, and with Cody Rhodes once being a member of Legacy, being under the tutelage of Randy Orton, there's that history that both Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes shares. And I can say, apart from Cody Rhodes' chase at him becoming the Universal Champion, the next best storyline that is available for Cody Rhodes right now would be versus Randy Orton. And his rivalry versus AJ Styles isn't as personal as it would be versus Randy Orton because of the history that both Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes shares. And Randy Orton, if he's to turn heel, it would be a rejuvenating factor for Randy Orton and the current stage that Randy Orton is currently at right now. Him teaming with Kevin Owens is not a bad look at all. But we both know both Randy Orton and Kevin Owens are capable of a lot more as singles competitors. And Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, if Randy were to turn heel and Cody Rhodes being the most cliche babyface, it would make all the sense for them to get into a rivalry, and it would be intriguing as well with the history that both men share. And if that does turn out to be a angle over there on SmackDown for the Universal title, it would be the next best look and the most sensible thing for the WWE and SmackDown to do. And you could have a all-out bloodline feud with Roman Reigns' leadership versus Solo Sikoa's leadership. And if Jey Uso and Kevin Owens does do a sweep swap, it will make sense as well if they were to go for that angle instead of what is currently the obvious thing over there on SmackDown with the Bloodline versus who the Bloodline is already feuding with Roman Reigns' return. And that is my review of SummerSlam 2024. And I will give a overall rating of a 8.5 out of a 10 for this year's SummerSlam. It was really a solid event from top to bottom, and I can, as I had said, this was the next best pay-per-view after WrestleMania, arguably almost up there with WrestleMania. I don't know what I gave WrestleMania a rating out of. I think I gave them a rating of a 8.5 out of a 10 as well, if not. But I can say if SummerSlam was to have the same time slot as WrestleMania, which I believe for next year, for SummerSlam 2025, they are planning to make a 2-day event out of SummerSlam like they do with WrestleMania. I don't know how that's going to work out, but with the talent that the WWE has right now, it would make sense. And SummerSlam does tend to put on heck of a event each and every year like a WrestleMania. So this having the output that it did wasn't much of a surprise to me. Anyways, subscribe to this channel if y'all like contents like this. Like this video if y'all want. Hit the share button if y'all want. Click the links in the description to show y'all support for this channel. Anything will be appreciated. And I'm out of here, y'all. Be good and peace.